my head, it automatically goes to they're not the right fit, right, for me. And they've made that clear, and I appreciate that in a way, right?
Yeah, it's almost very very like yeah, narcissistic of you.
Why is that narcissistic though? Going into relationships, we didn't even talk about this yet, but like, okay, do you mind talking a little bit about your like personal relationships and how you deal with like friends versus, you know, the people that you truly love or want as partners in your life?
Oh, what do you mean? Like, give
Uh,
me
li-
some details.
well, you talked about at the beginning how you have a unique group of friends, right? Do you want to just
Yeah.
like elaborate a little bit on that to start off with? Like, what do you mean by a unique group of friends?
Well, I think if you put everyone in their separate bubble,
Hmm.
they will look, they'll be normal, they'll look normal, they'll act normal. But then when you put us together, then we're complete weirdos and freaks.
Weirdos and
Uh,
freaks.
yeah.
Okay, I like that phrasing. And what makes your friends weirdos and freaks separately?
Well, that's because like I find that maybe only one person that speaks that like fights the norm. But I think for me, anyways, like if I'm with a group of friends that I know but I don't really know, then I'm acting a bit more, um, I guess, closer to the social norm.
Oh,
Versus
okay.
like if I'm with you guys, everyone else, I'm more like what we are type deal. Like we just freaks and weirdos.
You feel more natural in front of the people that you care about and that like are close to you, right? Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't say feel more natural. Like I feel
Oh.
very natural outside
Mm-hmm.
like of a different friend group, but I think I feel like something gets pulled out and then the freak comes out.
Something is okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible you're referring to like just who you were as a person back when you first met? Like for example, me is what comes out more, or is that what you mean?
Well, even you, like what we technically knew each other since grade 4, but we didn't really hang out until university.
Yeah, and I think our relationship has evolved multiple times, but that's because we communicate that, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
uh,
but I think yeah, even that still like doesn't like
it
I
doesn't
know
explain it.
people. Yeah, because I have a friend who I knew since high school, and like I I act very differently to that person versus to you. So
Right. That makes sense. And what do you think causes that change? Is it just because like different personalities resonate differently with you, or is it because you're just more open to certain people versus others?
I think it's just yeah, what personality resonates with me and that kind of stuff. Um, if you want, we'll keep relating this back to cooking, but again, it goes to the whole audience.
Hmm.
Um, if I know like this type of like behavior or personality resonates more with this person, then I tend to lean towards more that way. I don't necessarily I don't force myself to change personality, but I may have one side of my personality be a little bit louder than the other side.
Okay. Well, I mean, in that case, what you find is you in all of this, right? Because if you're constantly changing or like exasperating certain qualities based on the person you're talking to, how do
Mm-hmm.
you ponder who you are as a person or as an individual? Is that much different?
How do I ponder myself? What do you mean by that?
Like, because what you're talking about is like, okay, like you're explaining, like, for example, when you're interacting with me, you will, certain parts of you will come out that might not necessarily
Yes.
come out with other people.
Yeah, yeah.
And I guess my question is like, to me, that sounds like it creates some sort of dichotomy between your personality and like who you are, where, because you're exaggerating certain elements at different times. Like, for example, for me, right, I used to do this a lot, which was like, based on who I'm talking to, I would make a lot more jokes or say certain niceties or like complimentary things, right? More often to try and get them comfortable. But
Yeah.
like, it wasn't until I took a moment to reflect on like who I am as an individual that I figured out like, okay, these are the things that actually resonate with me. These are the things that people perceive me as. How do I make it so that like to me it was a big purpose to combine those things together more and more. And that's
Hmm.
where my efforts have gone. But like, have you ever considered like who you are? Like how like Just in regards to is do you find that there's any sort of dichotomy between how you're interacting with people, or is it pretty consistent overall?
I think the core is pretty persistent.
Mm-hmm.
I actually enjoy having like multiple friends and different friend groups, that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
because it allows me to like kind of like stretch different limbs of my personality and whatnot.
Okay.
Um, and also like it's also if they happen to overlap a little bit, then it creates a bit of excitement and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Um, as well. But I think the core is always the same. Like I'm always gonna be kind of the kind, honest, sometimes ruthless person.
Mm-hmm.
But usually, a person that you want to have around to have a good time with.
Right. Okay. Well, how do you think this is gonna relate to like a romantic partner then? Like, is there specific qualities or something you're looking for in a romantic partner?
Um, yes, but at this point, I'm not too picky.
The bar's slowly been lowered over the years.
I want to say the bar has been lowered. I think it's my view on the ideal has been opened, or is my horizon has been increased. Let's say that has been
Okay.
widened.
Well, I guess my question really is about like you as an individual, right? Because you're saying like your core values will just stay the same, but how you interact with people changes depending on who they are. So, like
Yeah.
with a romantic partner, are you looking for someone? Because like, of course, there's gonna be a different level of, I'm gonna call it a different tempo, right? A different tempo of who
Hmm.
you are is gonna come out. And like that tempo, do you know what that tempo is going to look like, or are you going to try and figure it out after you meet someone you're interested in and then figure it out from there?
I think I know what it will look like. I guess yeah, someone has to keep up with the tempo.
Mm-hmm.
Just because like for example, in public, you want to be high energy. You want to have be not the life of the party, but you don't want to bring the party down. Keep up with everyone, keep up with the conversation. But then in private, that kind of stuff. For me, especially, I'm just very very quiet, like very to myself. I definitely think I'm an introvert
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that like during the lockdown and such, like I had no problems not talking to people.
Right. You don't need constant social interaction to like feel
Yeah, no, I
energy.
did not need that. I did miss like going out and
Mm-hmm.
like hanging out with my friends and stuff, but I did not miss like seeing new people, that kind of stuff.
Right. Okay. Interesting. And then, I guess so. You want a partner that's similar in that sense, though, or do you want someone that like pushes you a little more outside of that, like, because like,
I think just someone that understands, like, yeah, definitely push me to be uncomfortable out of my boundaries, but understand there'd be some days where like, no, like this is not for me today, that kind of stuff. So to be understanding probably the
mm-hmm.
most.
Okay, and then for that partner as well, are you looking for someone with like similar values then, or similar interests, or like do those things need to go hand in hand with each other?
I
Like
think similar values definitely. I've learned that you don't need the same interests, but you definitely need the same values.
need the same values. Okay, interesting. Um,
Yeah.
okay, and well, so I know you've had some past relationships. I don't know if you want to go into details on any of that stuff, but do you think having those past relationships has helped you form up this criteria or this like idea of like this is the tempo I'm looking for and so on and so forth?
Yeah, it's definitely helping narrow down, what is definitely important in a partner for me.
Mm-hmm.
Some things that I thought were important turned out to not be important, like when like interest, for example. Like I found that you definitely don't need to have the same interests, but you have to have the same values in the sense that like you understand the importance of the interests,
Mm-hmm.
and you can appreciate the time and effort that's being put into, and having the open mind to even try it if you want, but you don't
Okay.
have to have the same interests.
Okay. And well, what's your take on like I guess Sorry, I need to phrase this properly because this could sound really weird. Give me just a second to ponder this phrasing.
Oh boy. Uh oh.
No, no, no. It's a very simple thing. It's just I think if I say it wrong, it's gonna sound really like it's gonna come not come out wrong. It's gonna like send the wrong. It's gonna lead to the wrong like idea because
Okay.
that's all I mean.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, it's your show, but you can always edit it out.
yeah, that's true. I'd rather not though.
For the audience, if you notice a hard cut, you know what went wrong.
Shit. Okay, this is the part I'm editing out. You're getting muted. No, no. Okay, got it. Okay, so like for me personally, right? I look at like you need to find out more about yourself. Before you can find someone that you enjoy, right? Because there's like a certain level of confidence and stuff that goes into it all. So for you, I guess my question is more of like, how are you putting yourself out there and like what are the steps you would suggest to other people in regards to like if they're looking for love? Like, are you even looking for love right now or anything like that? Or
I am, but not. It's not. It's not my full focus right now.
mm-hmm.
I'm always kind of keeping the back of my head to keep my eye open for it, but I'm not like it's not like job hunting where like I wake up and then I search for the next victim. But I just always keep in the back of my head,
That
you
sounded so
know.
stalkery. It's like I'm putting my stalker life on hold for temporarily just to Okay, so it's always on the back of your hand, but you're not in the mindset to be putting yourself out right now. And is that because
Yeah,
of all
'cause,
these changes you just went through?
um, it's kind of that. Also, I've just learned too from past relationship stuff that I learned the most putting myself out there, putting myself in um I say vulnerable positions, but just
Hmm.
you when you're with someone that you care about, you definitely learn more about yourself, and so uh, I'm not necessarily afraid to do that.
Hmm.
I am very scared of rejection, but I'm not afraid to take the path that could lead to a rejection.
Oh, wait, why are you scared of rejection?
Oh, because it hurts, dude.
Oh.
Like
Okay.
when I say rejection, I mean like a breakup after like a decent amount of time you spend with the person and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If you don't, if you don't align and like
Hmm.
you have more feelings than the other, then it hurts.
No, no, that makes sense. And again, I'm relating this back to like what you were talking about with the restaurant and stuff. How at a certain point you're more willing on taking that risk, but in certain moments you're not. And
Hmm.
how again, it goes back to like the audience member, right? Like you need to change what you're doing based on your audience member. And if you've already put in the effort into making a relationship souffle and then someone breaks up, I can imagine that being like really sucky in that sense. Dude, that's a terrible metaphor, but I keep using it.
Are do you want a souffle? Is that what you want right now? Have you had a souffle in your
No,
life?
I have never had a souffle. Are they good?
That could you never had a relationship souffle. That is a good
I said I never had a souffle. No one said anything about
that
relations.
is
Just
a great example. Anyways,
wow.
what we're
Um,
talking about?
relationships. Okay. Okay. So one of the things you said that I'm kind of curious about as well, because again, we had another guest and we talked about something similar. Was about you said you find yourself more in a relationship, right? Like you find out more about yourself.
Yeah.
Is like why do you think that is?
Just because you just if you're stuck in your own head,
Mm-hmm.
then you'll fill up your own head with your own ideas. And when you bring someone else into the equation, then they can bring out something else, or they can put something in. Like, but
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 but yeah, I think you just learn more. Thanks, Tower.
for what?
You laughed at my joke.
Oh, I
Um,
did, yes. No, no, no
Yeah, I know
worries.
it's tough to explain, but I think like when you add someone else into the equation, it throws everything like it throws everything astray. Like when you think you have everything,
Mm-hmm.
all your ducks in a row, that kind of stuff. You think you know everything. As soon as you add another person in, then it completely like wipes the equation and you have to rethink about everything.
But I mean, do you ever think like you know everything? I mean, there's so many moments in life that make you question that, right? Like you said, like life is unpredictable. You went through so many different things.
I only know that now because of these past experiences.
Oh, yeah, but not all of them are relationship related, right? Sorry, I'm trying to understand this for my own sake a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm trying to identify, I guess, the difference here between like, what's the difference between like having an open conversation with a friend who knows you, if you're like genuinely open with them and thorough with them and stuff, right? And then they're giving you good takes on like, oh, this is how you need to think differently and so on and so forth. Versus like being in a romantic relationship. Like, is there really that big a difference? Because I know like a lot of friendship style relationships also evolve into romantic relationships, right? But
yeah.
I don't know how the fundamentals of that change.
There's a reason why they say love is blinding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if you're in a relationship that you're deeply in love or you deeply appreciate the other person, you find yourself making very interesting life choices that you wouldn't necessarily made in any other normal circumstances. Is what I find. Like looking back, I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Not like, why did I do that? But oh, I did that for that person. Holy, I would never have done that for anyone else. Type of deal.
Okay, but why are you doing it for that person? Is it like, is it
I think
because
because you truly care about that person and you want to make that person happy and smile. So that's why you.
right, but I think that's what I'm getting at. So like you're doing it for that person because you want to make them smile and happy, which is like what to me that's what love is. It's when you're like supporting someone else and you're like you want them to be happy and you want them to smile, right? But
Mhm.
when you're questioning like why did I do that? I mean, wouldn't you do the same thing if you were in another romantic relationship and you were starting to fall in love with someone? Not the same thing as probably the same action per se, but put yourself out there for that person to make them happy in the same way. And then like,
Yeah. Of course, if you feel persons for feel feelings for the other different person, then yeah. But I think it also is kind of also subliminally you want the same type of feeling back from that person. Like you're hoping that like, oh, if I do this, then they will probably do something similar in return.
okay, if I do this, I want. Okay, and that's the expectation, right? Because like that's what love is two people putting each
That's
other
not the
first.
expectation. That's the hope. Expectation, I feel like it's a too formal word to use here. I think you hope for that.
If that's not happening, would you want to end the relationship?
I think over time, if you're only giving and not receiving, then absolutely.
Okay, so the hope is there because you have expressed feelings for that person, and because you have expressed feelings for that person, there's certain desires that you're hoping that they do, but it's not nearly as formal as an expectation because expectations come later as like those habits are developed. That's how you're looking at it?
Yeah, I don't think like for me expectations are something that's like been predetermined before the relationship. Like there's some things you may have like predetermined.
So, what are some expectations you would have from a relationship then? Like, what are some predetermined things you're looking for in like a romantic
It's
relationship?
all those check boxes say beforehand before you want to get into a relationship with that person. I
Hmm.
think those are expectations.
Like specifically for you, what are some things you would look for in regards to like expectations for in a partner?
Like they're gonna have to be open minded, willing to try new things. Like I'm always always be like being able to kind of push themselves and push me as well
Hmm.
into becoming better at whatever. Things like that. Would be my expectations.
Right.
And then my hopes would be, if I were to do, say something nice for them, like, go like on a surprise, like book a surprise trip or that kind of stuff, then my hope would be they will do something similar. Like maybe they'll, cook a fancy dinner for me, or they will, make me breakfast in bed, that kind of stuff.
Hmm. Okay. And again, going to the whole startup thing and stuff, right? Do you think like you would still be more willing on being in a startup if you were in a like, committed relationship and were trying to develop that stuff, or like is that a little too much? Because you just said like you were like it's taken a big toll on your life as well, but you're enjoying like the fulfillment of it all.
Hmm.
right? But in comparison to that, like adding a relationship to the mix, do you find that that would be helpful in trying to like de-stress and figure things out? Because, like you said, when you're with a partner, you're like questioning more things about yourself or seeing another perspective.
Yeah, this person will have to be very supportive. They have to understand, like, oh, like they have to understand, like, oh, I'm trying to make a move in my career, and it's going to take a lot of time and effort.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I'm trying to, you know, ignore them or think that they're a hindrance, but it's
Right.
more a fact that, like, I'm trying to do all I can for this. Um, and so it's being understanding of that, but also putting out the expectations of, like, okay, like, I understand during the weekday, you're gonna be busy at work, but maybe weekends are time, that kind of stuff. So being um making a compromise, but still having um um I guess expectation needs.
Right, but would you not see it as beneficial as well? Like being in a relationship in a situation like this? If you find a partner that's like can understand and relate, right? Like I don't think it's that complicated to relate to something like that. But that's just me.
I mean, maybe, yeah.
Because I don't
Um,
imagine you're looking for someone more like I'm putting up quotation marks just so people know, but needy, needy like that, right? Like I don't think that's what you're looking for. Someone that needs to be more needy than that, right? Because you said you like going out, but you like your personal time and all that other
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. Um, I don't think, like, for me right now, I don't think a relationship would be beneficial. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it helping me in, like, the startup of this career, that kind of stuff.
Mm.
Maybe in my personal life for sure, but I don't feel the uh, the absolute, like, oh, this is, like, step one is this, step two is this, before I have to get a relationship before I continue to step three.
Absolutely, that makes sense. But on a personal level, then, because you said maybe in a personal life, like, how would it help improve your personal life?
I mean, it was just you just have that companionship, someone that can understand you
Mm-hmm.
at a deeper level.
Right. Okay. So you get like some sort of extra, go- good God, release and help figure. So for you, figuring
Yeah,
yourself out. Jeez,
release.
I'm an emotional. Let's
Man,
keep the dirty mind away
man.
from this.
Yeah, give me
um,
that.
give me that release. Jesus. Okay. Okay. But I guess going to it, so you genuinely believe that you figure out more of yourself, in a relationship, and like, sorry, I'm gonna try and summarize. And you believe that because it gives you an outside perspective out of your own level of thinking, and it's something that friends can't do because, of course, like there's different tones with friends, and that's how friends push you. So it's not at a deeper level of just understanding you, right? Like that's what you're saying?
Yeah, 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 exactly.
Okay. Okay. But like interesting. So, but would that require your partner to also be someone that like thinks very differently than you then?
No, no, not necessarily. Um, I know a lot of people who, like, dated, like, pretty much they're um they're how do I word this?
Doppelganger?
Yeah, like the doppelganger, in the sense that they if they are happy in their own little world, then that's great.
But how much of that is like I'm assuming that these people have been together for a while, right? Like not just like they started dating and they were the same person. Because like relationships mold together as well, right? Like people start thinking the same after a while.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
But I
how?
think still, like,
Mhm.
I think it's still fine though.
Okay, but how would you combat that group thinking from like being in a relationship for a while and then you two start thinking the same and then like would you need some other sort of way to keep your check, I guess, in check, your thinking in check?
Well, that all depends on the person, right? So,
Hmm.
like, if you're okay with that life, then by all means, you live that life. That's why we have so many weirdos on Facebook,
Oh yeah, but
Uh,
I'm just talking about you, right? In regards to because you said that you valued this idea of like this your partner like questioning you on certain things or getting you helping you get out of your head. Is there any
yeah.
concerns that you would start thinking the same after a while? Like, has that been the thought process at all, or do you think that won't
No,
happen?
there's no concern. Like, if it happens, it happens.
If it and you would be
I
happy
think I
with
have
that, right?
enough. Yeah, I think I have enough checks and balances in my life to, like, figure out if that's gonna make me unhappy or not. So,
Okay, okay. And if that does end up making you unhappy per se, right? Like, what would be the steps? Would you try and, I guess, create a little more distance between you and your partner so that you can stop doing that? Or or would you try inviting like other couples in and try to question it that way? Like, do you know what you would do if that does end up making you unhappy? Sorry, this is so
um,
theoretical. I know because it's like talking about a future relationship you're not even in.
well, I would definitely probably talk it out to friends and family, and
Yeah.
then talk to the partner
Hmm.
in question. And at the end of the day, if you can't come up with a reasonable solution or a way, a method that will make everyone happy, then that's just not meant to be.
Okay. And I guess do you find it pretty easy to figure out if someone's right for you, or do you find that it sounds like in theory it sounds like great, like here's are the values I'm looking for, which of course like like you said, it makes it so that you're more open to more sorts of people by just focusing on the values.
Mhm.
But like in regards to that, outside the values, because like you were saying, like there's certain tones, right? Or yeah, did we agree on the word tone for this? Tones of you.
Tempo.
Tempo, thank you. Good God, tones did not sound right. I was like, this is bugging me. All right, certain tempos that come out for you yourself in personality. I'm assuming that you believe that other people are the same, right? Where certain tempos are coming out depending on who they're interacting with and what they're seeing. So with that being said, do you think you would easily be able to identify like, hey, this is the right partner for me, or this is the person that I want to be my girlfriend, or so on and so forth, or like this is the person I want in my life, etc.
Um, that's a lot of different levels of relationship. So I'm gonna break
That
it down.
yes, that's why I did it that way. Sorry. Yeah.
So so I'm gonna say no.
Hmm.
Reason why is because um how am I gonna word this? It's because I from my experience, I have no idea. Like I thought that I would have. I had relationships where I thought like, oh, like this is the one for sure, and then at the end, it's like, oh, this is actually terrible. And then I had others where like, I'll give this a try, and then it'd be like, oh, damn, I'm like head over heel with this person. So for me, it's just like you never know. It never gets easier,
Yeah.
and so for me, it's easy to get from that. It's easy to go from that friend to girlfriend stage,
Yeah. Hmm.
well, then it's difficult to figure out the girlfriend to life partner stage.
Okay, so easy to go from friend to girlfriend, but difficult from girlfriend to life partner. And is it because does it have anything to do with the tempos that are being presented?
Yeah, because I think like in the beginning, the tempo, is pretty, what I say,
Uh,
easy to keep up with. I guess it's
yes.
pretty. The tempo's pretty slow from friend to girlfriend,
Yeah.
because this probably reason why you're friends. You enjoy each other's company, and then being in a relationship is just the next step up
Mm-hmm.
from that. So, but later on, when you start thinking about more long term or more serious things,
Mm-hmm.
that's when the tempo can change. And then if you guys don't sync up properly or nicely, then you go all astray.
Right. Okay. Okay. And I guess part of the problem from that, from the sounds of it, could also be like different levels of growth and things like that. And as you're learning more and more, you're realizing you're not comfortable with certain things, or maybe you like it even more than you thought you would, right?
Yeah, it's also like the more time you spend together, the more that's at risk, right? So it's always those are always factors as well.
Huh. Interesting. This is a very interesting take on relationships. Okay. And then are you looking for like because I know I think you are actually. You're looking for someone to be your wife and all that stuff, right? Like you're looking for that settle down eventually.
Yeah, yeah, because the dating scene sucks.
Dating scene sucks. Okay. And well, I guess on the dating aspect of it, like have you tried things like online dating before and all that stuff? Or like have you put yourself out there before? Or has it never really been a priority?
Hasn't really been the priorities. Again, like kind of everything's in the back burner, so always in the back
Oh,
of my head, but
sorry,
never
I meant before this, before like your current situation, because clearly in the current situation you've made it abundantly clear you're not really looking, but you're keeping an open mind, right? Just because life is hectic.
It's tough to say because like the last relationship I got out of was just before the world shut down,
Hmm.
and so the world I think only has just started to open up again,
Yeah.
and so, but now I'm in this new job, so kind of like always been in the back of the head, but never my main focus.
Never your main focus. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And sorry, last thing to do with all of this. You talk about going from friends to like girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Um, do you typically prefer like being friends first with your partner before you're pushing like the boundaries towards like, hey, I want a relationship? Or are you the kind of person that's usually more direct and been like, okay, I like you. I want you as my girlfriend. Let's start dating.
Well, I usually like to get to know the person a bit beforehand, so you're just not just jumping into every relationship that you can.
Well, I mean, dating
But it
is
moves
different, right?
pretty quick.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Sorry, dating is different though, right? Because from my understanding, like dating someone is like you're going out with them. You don't like that's how you get to know someone, right? Before you become girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever.
I guess it's a bit different for me. For me, it's a bit different in the sense that like I want to see you in a more casual mindset before I see you in a more kind of like serious or romantic mindset.
Oh, okay. But how do you have that communication then? Because I think a lot of people have that situation in their lives, or at some point in their lives, where they have a friend, then, right? And then they want to evolve from a friendship to a relationship, right? Do you have any tips or any thoughts on like how to make that happen, or what the best ways to go about that is?
Just gotta be straight up and honest, and just understand the consequences that can happen. Because I think a lot of people just fear, like, oh, this will ruin the friendship, or this will do this or that. And at the end of the day, yeah, it can absolutely ruin the friendship, and you may have one less friend in your life. But if you are willing to take that risk, then you should be willing to accept the consequences.
You should be willing on accepting the consequences. But is there a way to like reduce that risk or navigate through that, you think? Or is it just like it is what it is?
I think that if you handle it as a mature adult, then absolutely. Like
Yeah.
if you just go like, hey, know we've been friends for a while. I've grown feelings for you. I'm wondering if you ever consider seeing me in a romantic way or that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And then if they're like, no, sorry, I only see you as a friend. And if you have the maturity to be like, oh, okay, cool, thank you for letting me, thanks for understanding that kind of stuff, then I'm sure you can walk away from that.
Hmm.
It'll hurt, it may sting a bit, but as long as you're able to walk away from that and then, a couple months down the line come back to it, then sure.
Interesting.
So,
Okay.
but don't burn any bridges. It's definitely easier said than done.
Yeah, like especially the not burning bridges part, right? Because like feelings get involved, and then suddenly everything's overthunk.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, the other person loses out because they're losing a person in their life that likes them. So
Interesting. Hmm.
I think you shouldn't think of it a way like, oh, I lost someone that I really liked. You should
Yeah.
think of it as they lost someone that actually liked them.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Sorry. The reason I find all of this so fascinating is because I think of life in like a little bit of an opposite way of all of this, right? Where it's like
Hmm.
to me. You just have to be like super comfortable with yourself and know who you are. And to me, like that's the greatest challenge. It's like figuring yourself out because you're exposed to so many different things and so many things start resonating with you as an individual, right? And then, like you said, there's certain norms in society that like, eventually you start questioning if that's a part of you or that's not a part of you, right? And when I look at relationships, I see it as the same thing. It's like two people when they're so comfortable with themselves, and then they start like connecting with each other, and they start resonating with like, oh, this is who I am, this is who you are, and I'm starting to like who you are. Are you liking me for who I am, right? And then when that starts clicking, it like goes to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. But from the sounds of it, you do the same thing, but in your or like the way that you're looking at it, there's like different transitions that need to happen, and as those transitions are happening, you need to start like I guess adjusting yourself more and more as you're getting more and more comfortable with yourself and who you are with that partner. That's how I'm looking at like the tempo thing. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think it's less. I think for me, anyways, it's less about me being comfortable and more about me being uncomfortable.
Okay, how
Because
so?
I find myself very comfortable um, with my current state. Like again, like I said, like I can literally sit at home and do nothing, and I can be completely fine with it.
Right, but
But
is
I
that the
think,
same thing as being comfortable as with yourself? That just means that you're good with being alone, right?
yeah, but I think it is also a sense that like you have to be good at being uncomfortable, putting yourself out there, knowing that someone could reject you because of who you are.
Oh, that's what you mean. Okay, right. Okay. Yeah, I think that's the difference. Because for me, like, I can't even imagine like trying to, you know, that idea of rejection doesn't actually occur to me. Not in the same way. Like, if someone doesn't like me, for my head, it automatically goes to they're not the right fit, right, for me. And they've made that clear, and I appreciate that in a way, right? But I think that's abnormal. I think what I'm saying is very abnormal.
Yeah, it's almost I know you're not a narcissistic,
Narcissist, narcissistic. Don't
narcissist
worry,
type of
I got you,
person,
buddy.
but it's
Yes.
very, very like, yeah, narcissistic of you.
Why is it narcissistic though?
It's just in the sense of like, oh, you know what? I'm just not their type. Whatever. And you're not almost. Again, it's a it's a double-edged sword, but in the
Hmm.
sense of like you're not willing to change or better yourself
Oh,
if you
see,
could.
I disagree with that. I think for me, the betterment of yourself doesn't come from someone else, right? Like, just because someone's rejecting me um, doesn't mean I need to improve myself to fit them, right? To me, the betterment of myself comes from learning more about the things around me and interacting with people and figuring out what resonates more with me and what I need to improve on. So, like, realistically, like, if I look at myself right now, right, I'm not very healthy or I'm not very happy with my body. I think it's unhealthy and I want to take
Hmm.
steps towards improving that. But my motivation and desires for that is coming from the fact that I'm looking at myself and I'm thinking that's unhealthy. Consequence of that would probably be other people will find me more attractive if I start losing weight and stuff. But that's not really the primary concern. So I think I know what you mean though. In a way it is narcissistic, but it's I don't think it's detrimental, right? Like, do you think it's detrimental to think of life that way?
I think that, um, and this is from my own experience. I think
Mm.
you will evolve slower or change slower because of that view
Uh,
set.
how come?
Because I find like I could always take something out of a relationship that ended or a rejection, that kind of stuff, and be like,
Hmm.
okay, like what didn't work, what did work, and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Versus me just saying, oh, it didn't work out because it didn't fit, and just calling it a day like that.
Well, no, I mean there's definitely things to learn from every experience, but I would never change myself from because what you're saying makes a lot of sense, right? Wait, hold on. Are we talking specifically about relationships, like actually working out? Like, so your girlfriend boyfriend and it breaks up? Is that specifically what you're referring to? Or are you
Yeah,
talking about
or just if you're dating, seeing someone and it just didn't work out, that kind of stuff. Like I'm not saying like oh every single thing you change, that kind of stuff. But I'm saying like if
but
if you
uh,
find something that resonates with you, then why won't you try to better yourself from it?
oh, absolutely, but that's the part. I think okay, so maybe we're saying the same thing because I think the part of that is that it needs to resonate with you, right? So if a relationship, for example, is not working out very specifically, I don't know, maybe I'm seeing someone for a bit and then she's noticing something in my personality, like, oh, you're too happy during sad situations. This is a really terrible example, but you're too happy during sad situations, right? Something like that would I would want to change a part of myself for that, in that I would probably try to recognize more of the next person that I'm with, their emotions to that regard, and see how they're evaluating that. But I wouldn't
Yeah.
change a core part of myself because someone doesn't resonate with it, right? Like I would still probably do similar things during sad situations. It just I would make my intentions and stuff more clear. This is a shitty example, but you know what I mean,
Sure.
right?
No,
Uh,
I get it. I get it. I understand.
yeah,
Yeah.
like.
So we are speaking. So you are doing that then. You are.
But I would never like go out of my way to change myself. I think to me it needs to resonate with you. It absolutely need to me that's like the most important thing. If it's not resonating with you and it's just for the sake of, oh, this is the person that I liked and this is like I want this relationship to work and that's why I'm changing something. I think there's something really like wrong with that. It means you haven't figured yourself out properly, right? Because like even like when you're talking about like all the job experiences you went through and all those changes, I see it the same way where like you had those opportunities, especially during those breaks, to like reevaluate like these are the things that resonated with me from this position. This is what I'm actually learning from it, and this is what's gonna go on forward. But you wouldn't have specifically changed yourself just to find another job in a rec center, right?
Um. Yeah. This is a bad example because I would.
Oh, you would?
Like.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because you need a job.
Oh,
Uh. But yeah. But I don't know if you want to
mm-hmm.
better your chances in the future of finding someone.
Right.
You have to get through that first barrier of the social norm.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then once you get past that barrier, then you can show your personality.
Okay, and what would you consider? Sorry, let's just qualify this a little bit. So, what would you consider the social norm to be?
Again, it's different for everyone. Like every person will have a different social norm and that kind of stuff. But I think for the most part, I think people looking for someone who's stable, both emotionally and financially, um, has like goals in mind. I'm trying to be very genetic, like very
Yeah,
generic,
yeah,
like
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah. So you're looking at more like the 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 base criteria
surround.
people
Yeah,
generalized, just in generalized society. This is probably what theoretically, stereotypically, I'm adding all of these words
they're,
in
they're
there.
surrounded. They're surrounded by good people.
Yeah,
They look like they're having a good life and that kind of stuff. I think that's the general barrier, the
yeah,
first barrier you have to go through,
uh-huh.
and then the second barrier will be what they personally are looking for and stuff.
Okay, so part one is establishment, establishing yourself in a as a good person in society. I'm putting up quotations again to be clear,
Yeah,
right?
I think contributing to society, I think, is the best way to put it.
Yeah,
You look
you're
like you look
mm.
like a look like a member of society that's contributing. I think that's the best way to put it.
You're okay, you're contributing to society in a good way. So you fit into like these ideas of norms and stuff that are generalized in society.
Yeah,
And then after that, it goes more into like your personality and those personality like habits and stuff, right? That's what you
yeah,
mean by that? Okay.
yeah,
And
yeah. Not getting to looks because looks are very subjective and everyone has a different taste and that kind of stuff. But that'll be
right.
part of the personal barriers, I think, too.
But wouldn't that have the risk of making your partner be someone like I mean, it's amazing if that's what you're looking for, but wouldn't that open the risk of your partner being kind of um, normal? Sorry, that sounded weird. Like just
Yes, I would like a partner that's normal. Thank you.
yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, are you not looking for someone that's above normal or like extraordinary in some way? Like, isn't that what most people want? They want someone special or extraordinary, or and they want to identify themselves as that. And
Yeah, but that's when dating comes in, right? It's like it's like fishing. You don't know what's gonna land on your hook. You just have to throw it out there and hope something good lands on it. You can't just
I love this
and
metaphor.
the only way for you to know that's good is when you reel it in and then you examine it. You're not going to throw your hook in the ocean and then preemptively cut the line if you think it's not good because you don't know what's on the other end of the line.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Okay, okay. Um, sorry, I'm trying to work around this metaphor with it. You know what's on the other end of the line, the fishing again. Okay, so basically what you're saying to summarize it all, just correct me if I'm wrong about any of this, because we said a lot right now.
Mhm.
It's that okay, so the way that you see it is that when you're approaching someone in regards to like, wanting to get to know them further, there's certain quality of, okay, let's break it down from step by step. So we're going to start at the beginning. When you're meeting someone for the first time, there's a basic qualifier that you need to be a contributing member of society, right?
Yeah,
And
that's loading. If we go back to the fish metaphor, that's loading your hook with the bait.
loading the hook with the bait, and then
Yeah.
as the hook with the bait goes in, and you're reeling in the fish, you suddenly start seeing more qualities of the fish. So that's like getting to know the person more personally, right? Like you're seeing, let's start off with the looks, the look of the fish itself, and then you're going on the inside, you're cutting it open, you're seeing, oh, is this
Weird. Okay, nope, nope. You stop. Let me fix your analogy for you,
okay?
please. All right. Let me fix.
I'm trying to use your
Let,
analogy to be clear.
let me take over your show for a bit.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah, go for it.
So this is how it's gonna work. So, um, yeah, the first barrier, the social barrier, that kind of stuff, contributing to society, that is loading up the hook with the bait because you're targeting a certain species of fish, right? So you're
Yeah.
targeting a certain partner.
Okay. Yeah. Hmm.
So that you load up the hook and you throw it into the water. So you're going into society, bars, whatever that stuff, and you're hoping to land something. And then finally you land something. All right, so there's someone caught your bait, and they okay, sweet. You're getting to know them. You're building a relationship. That's reeling the fish in.
Right. Hmm.
Right? And then finally, once it's on the boat, that means that you're at the point where you're considering them in a serious relationship. You want to get exclusive, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
That's when you take the fish in the boat and you examine and that kind of stuff, seeing if this meets all the your expectation requirements. All that kind of stuff. Weighing the fish, sizing it up, that kind of stuff.
Jesus. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And once all that's met, then you finally decide, all right, do I keep or do I release?
Okay, but like going back to what we were initially talking about with all of this, right? Before the metaphor came in. Sorry, this is what I meant by like summarizing it. So relating it back, because we were originally talking about how in a relationship, right? Like if let's say the fisherman releases the fish back in the water and the fish is still alive and so on and so forth, right? And
Hmm.
maybe the fish's purpose in life is to be caught by that fisherman, right? Like that's the purpose. then,
Okay, sure,
then
yeah,
then what would you need to do as the fish to like adjust, right? Like because that's what we were talking about like, you think that there needs to be a certain amount of adjustment that needs to occur after you've been with someone and like you need to start reevaluating certain actions or certain deeds, right?
yeah.
So I guess my question is, and I'm gonna remove the metaphor because it's getting a little too confusing with all of this. But removing the metaphor, like, so what would you evaluate then? Like, is it more so okay, let's say you met a girl, you find her really pretty, right? And then you start dating her for a little bit. And then suddenly out of the blue, you think it's going really well, but she breaks up with you. And then you ask her for a little bit of feedback and she says, "Oh, I broke up with you because I don't feel like you're ambitious enough or I don't feel like you like you have these goals but you never pursue them or you never push towards them, right? Like this is a very basic example, right?
Okay.
And she started discovering that. Then for you as an individual, would you look at that and be like, okay, maybe I need to be more ambitious and stuff? Or would you debate that further and be like, okay, am I really not ambitious or is she talking about like what's the qualifier there for saying I need to actually change this? Because like
So if
obviously you
I
would consider it, right? Hmm.
so if I was, it depends on the person. Like if I was really in love with that person, I was like, okay, like that's I really want to go back to the fish, but okay, I won't.
Oh no, you
But
can if you want to. If I can't make
but
it work. Okay, I got into cutting fishes open. You can go
but
back
if
if
I
you want
if
to.
I if I say like if I say like like oh like she was the one. I was really happy with her, and I'm sad that I broke up. Then I'll look at it and be okay, like she was probably right on something. Maybe I should be more ambitious and that kind of stuff in the future. So that way, when the next person comes along who meets all that criteria, maybe that will help out. Maybe that will make the next relationship more successful.
Mm,
Or the flip side of that, though, if the relationship was like just boring and man, whatever, then I will have little feelings for that. I was like, hey, whatever. Like, I don't want to be ambitious. So what?
See, I think that's the difference. For me, I would be questioning if she's even right in the first place about the ambitious part, because like people have different criterias for what ambition looks like, right? And to me, I'm not looking for this person again. I'm looking for someone that'll accept me for me, right? And I think maybe that was what I was trying to communicate earlier. Is like I would still evaluate it the way that you are. It's just I'm comfortable with who I am, right? And I might adjust it a little bit in that consideration, but that's like enough for me to say, oh, maybe this is not the kind of person I'm looking for, or that she's not right for me for X, Y, and Z reason. But you think that's flawed, right? Because you think that's more narcissistic and you're missing out on some parts?
Yeah, I feel like it's more not again. It's double-edged sword. Like, yeah, I feel like it's more narcissist. Yeah, whatever that word is. But
Narcissistic,
yeah,
narcissist. Yeah, it's a fun
yeah,
word.
yeah. Good luck, sir.
Good luck,
Uh,
sir. I love
but
you,
yeah,
buddy.
no, I feel like the yeah, it's a double-edged sword. It sounds like yeah, I could be viewed like that, but also could view like oh, you have very strong personal values. So I think again, like it always depends on how extreme you're willing to go with it.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And you know what? You're right. Maybe maybe
Like
that's
I could say like an extreme for that. Like
yeah.
we have a friend that I'm not
hmm
gonna name, but you know exactly who I'm talking about, who will never change their way.
Right.
Yeah, and so I feel like that is the extreme end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. So you're looking at it as if you never change, then if you never change, then you can never improve, and if you can never improve, then how are you gonna find someone to grow with, right? That's how you're looking
It's
at it.
it relating us back to the whole science thing. You know,
Yeah.
no, not science thing. What's it? There's a great saying where like insanity is trying the same thing again and expecting different results.
Yep. Yeah. I love that saying. That's my favorite saying. One
Yeah.
of them. Yeah.
So if you want a different result, but you're doing the exact same thing, then what are you insane? Like, of course, that's not gonna, nothing's gonna change.
Right. But okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. But I mean, it depends on what you're trying to change, right? Like, do you change how you're looking for ladies, or like how you're trying to what your actual criteria is? Maybe this girl seemed perfect for you in that moment, but someone else has more qualities that are like more resonated.
I think
Um,
it still follows the same though. Like if you,
mhm.
like if you want something different to happen, you can't do the same thing.
No,
Like
obviously.
sure, you might meet the random soul
Hmm.
in a world of 8 billion people, but
Yeah. Well, to me, I don't think it's possible for someone to legitimately never change. I think that it automatically happens the minute you start interacting with the people around you, right? And over time and things like that. So like, but I think what you have indicated over and over again, and maybe I need to resonate with this a little bit better personally, because it's something that I've been considering since the last talk I had as well, is that idea of like when you're in a relationship, there is certain levels of growth that you're going to be experiencing that you can't otherwise have in other
yeah, more ways than
relationships.
one. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm not talking about the physical, dude.
So
The,
I ruined a good moment, but go
No,
ahead.
no, no, no. It's all good, dude. That's what we're having a conversation. It's good. That's awesome. Do what you need to. But yeah, there's certain growths and certain levels of growth that you can have that you can't have otherwise. And I'm starting to understand that when you guys are talking about it, you're meaning it more so because you get more comfortable and open with someone, and they're getting more comfortable and open with you. So it's not just a matter of like growing together, but rather a certain level of intersection between comfort and growth that needs to be within there, right? And
Yeah,
that's what's resonating from me from this conversation.
I think
At
when
least
it works well, you grow together. But
when
then no
okay.
matter what, you will learn and grow.
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem is some people grow apart, right? Because their areas of
And that's
growth
fine.
change.
That happens.
Oh yeah, certainly. But that's one of those situations where I don't think someone needs to like reevaluate or change their purpose. They just need to reevaluate what they're looking for, right? So like
I think you're sticking too much on I have to commit to my core values and like stuff. I can't change those. So that's fine, but you can still change.
right, but it depends on what you're trying to change, right? Like okay, core values is one thing, but okay, do you consider goals values, for example?
No, I think goals are a way to achieve your values.
Okay, so then this is probably going to be a good example. If, for example, one of your goals is to run your own business, right? Like you said, you need a girl that, or a partner that's like accommodating of that. They need to be willing on being more patient with your time and understand that
Hmm.
that's your and be supportive of that to a certain extent, right? But let's say that one day you decide, "Oh, I don't want to do that and I want to be a stay-at-home dad." Right, in the future.
Yeah.
At that point, your partner needs to decide, right, whether are you still the same ambitious person? I'm putting quotation marks up just so people know. Ambitious person you were before, or does that aspect of you has that changed? Are you a different person altogether, right? And I think this is a very common one where people change their goals in the future, and then their partners see it and they're like, "Oh, you're not the same person that I fell for," or something like that, right?
Well, I
Um,
think it depends on a different ambition, right? Like you're now as long so I would argue that a stay-at-home dad can be so ambitious because now you want to take care of your kids and all
oh,
that kind of
absolutely.
stuff
I
and be
100% agree.
there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that depends on the person if they can see that.
Exactly. But that's my point, right? But let's say that person can't see that. But in that case, you've already decided you want to be a stay-at-home dad, right? And that's now your goal. That's your desire, right? And this person is not like on the same wave. Let's say they're not on the same wavelength as that, right? In that
Right?
scenario, like and but you love everything else about her, right? So to me, the question becomes from both partners, right? The girl and the guy, of A, is this still the same person that I fell for? Right, from the girl. And the guy needs to question, like, okay, I've changed my goal. Is this still the kind of partner that fits those goals and those needs? Right. So to me, that's an example of like someone changing, deciding something about themselves, learning more about themselves, and then
I think it just grow. You guys grow together, right? It's not. I highly doubt it's gonna be an overnight thing where the
mhm.
morning of he wakes up he's like, you know what, I'm staying home. I'm staying home, dad, from now on. I think it'll be a gradual change over time, and then they'll figure and discuss and talk about it.
That's fair. That's fair. But going back to it, like, but that's one of the things. Like, there's certain lessons to be learned, right? But at the same time, if you grow apart in that way, I don't think there's too much of a question of like, um, it's at a certain point where this was not the right person for you, right? So like another example is like and this is a real life example. A friend of mine was talking about how he went on a date, and when he went on that date, he thought it was the absolutely the most amazing date, right? And then after the date was over, she essentially ghosted him for a bit and said like I don't want to go on a second date with you. And he was wondering like, oh my God, what did I do wrong or what went wrong here? And the conclusion that he got from that after getting feedback was like she like read some stuff on his Facebook post. Um, and based on that, she turned him down, right? And so the question to him then became like, then the question became to her about like, or to him was like, okay, I got this feedback. What do I do with this feedback? Right? And theoretically, he could have like sponged his Facebook post or been like less, because apparently it was a misogynistic post, less misogynistic, right? To make future relationships like that work. And I think learning that part of it is good. But at the same time, he's also got a question. This person looked at his Facebook post, and then that was enough for him to get rejected by her, right? So to me, there's like, yeah, there's a lesson learned, but also, you know who you are, and you know you're not actually misogynistic. There was just one or two posts way back in the day that were like that. So how much of yourself would you actually change to accommodate future people like that? Like, would you really want to be with someone like that?
Well, you only know if you through that situation, right? He only knew about it because he found out that she was like searching through her Facebook, right? So I think if I was in that those shoes,
Hmm.
I would have been like, oh yeah, those posts were from like 10 years ago. I'm definitely not that same person. But also, I don't want to be with a person that does that. So dodge a bullet there, but I'll keep an eye out for that next time.
Ah, okay. So yeah, so it goes both ways. You're both looking at the fact that hey, this is not the right person, and at the same time reevaluating, hey, maybe some things need to change, right? That's what you
Yeah,
mean?
like it doesn't have to be all bad. Like you don't be depressed about it, but you'd be like, yeah, that's sad. Like I thought we had a good time. Like I like all these qualities, but the one quality that turns out is really bad is like
Uh-huh.
the fact that she like snoops in my past.
Right.
So I'll
No,
look
I
out for that next time.
interesting, interesting. No, thanks, Avery. Like you've made me ponder a lot about like relationships and how to evaluate that stuff and how much the responsibility lies on the individual versus the partner, right? And
Well, I mean, yeah, you can't change your you can't change other people. You can only change yourself. So
True, true. But then it's a question of how do you evaluate that, right? Like, how do you evaluate what actually needs to change, right? Because you can't change yourself completely. I think that's what we're getting to, right? You can't change yourself completely for the sake of someone you like, but at the same time, you can't just be so comfortable with yourself that like you're not changing anything. Like, you should definitely get a lesson learned from all of this, which I think we've both been saying from the beginning, right? There's definitely going to be some sort of lesson learned, but the difference is like at a very base level, some people are just not meant for you. Right? And you need to accept that as well.
yeah, not everyone's going to like you.
Yeah, yeah, and you got to be comfortable with that. You got to be good with that, right? I think,
Yeah, like
yeah.
even I don't like you. So
Well, shit, dude, you're committed now. So, like, no chance of that. I think
do you know why I don't like you, Davor?
yeah, I want to know. I want to know so badly.
Remember that gift you promised?
Yeah, yeah, I'll get it to you today, buddy. So for the audience that doesn't know, I came back from Hawaii recently, and Avery was gracious enough to wash my house, and I bought some presents for him, and it's been 2.5, 3 months since I got back, and I still haven't given it to him, and
And
I.
usually, and also some context too. Usually, I wouldn't care. Like it's like whatever. Like his dad was always giving me stuff, but I wouldn't care. But the reason why I care about this one is because everyone else in our friend group has partaken in my gift except for me. So that's where the saltiness comes in.
There's a lot of love amongst us friends. I'm just gonna leave it at Sorry,
Yeah.
buddy. I'll get it to you. I'll get it to you. Not every. I
And
blame.
then then I had to hear it through my friends and be like, "Oh, you have a good gift coming." I was like, "What do you mean?"
You do. Okay, in all fairness, there's two other parts to the gift, and they have not even gotten to see it. So, you're good. You're good.
Sure,
You're good.
sure.
And one of them, hey, come on, dude. I've never gotten you a bad present, have I? Uh, actually, let's not go there. Let's not.
Actually, there was
Absolutely.
that time where you went back home and you got you. It was a very nice gesture. You got me an engraved wallet, but the last name was spelled completely wrong.
Wait, actually? Like, how was it?
Yeah,
Oh, shit, I do
it was
remember that.
wavering.
Yeah. Dude, I can't help it if, they don't speak English there.
Hilarious.
Okay. No,
All
but dude,
right.
thank you so much. Thanks for doing this. Honestly, you gave me a lot more appreciation for cooking and for like this relationship stuff. There's a lot to ponder, as well as just the idea of how we went through your career. I think that's a beautiful story for like people trying to figure things out because I think there's a lot of people in the same page where they haven't figured things out and they're willing on experimenting, but they're not sure how to navigate all of that.
Yeah, I was definitely worried in the beginning because everyone around me had a life goal and a life plan,
Yeah.
and then here I was like no real career set in mind. But I guess just goes to show that it's never too late
Yeah.
to do something new.
No, no, and that's exactly it. And I feel like you applied the same thing to your relationships from the sound of it, where you're like willing and open-minded to different types of personalities and different people. But at the same time, you're starting to like navigate and figure all of that out, right? Like that's what I'm getting from
Yeah,
this.
but
Yeah, and
definitely open minded too.
yeah.
Never mind.
Okay. Do you have any closing thoughts or closing words for everyone? Like,
No. I just want to say thank you, Davor, for inviting me onto your show, and to your audience. I'll just say, just keep trucking, keep moving forward. Life is hard, but it gets better and more enjoyable with more good people around you.
there you go. Yeah, life is fun. All right, dude. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time. It's been a lot of fun talking
No
to you.
worries. Thank you for inviting me.
For sure.